because it happened in broad daylight and rush hour traffic. It was on the news, and so I was Washington's most wanted for like 2 days. And I was bleeding so bad. My uncle was a president of a biker club, and so he was the go-to guy. And hey, I'm in this situation. What do I do?
Welcome back to the Swayside Connection podcast. And every guest I've had on the podcast so far has actually grown up in Spanaway. So this is another perspective of somebody that did not actually grow up necessarily in Spanaway, but joined us at Spanaway Lake while we were there. And so who do I have with us?
Michael Talley.
Michael Talley. And what are you drinking there? What are you sipping on?
Just some Dr. Pepper. I try not to drink too much. I got Frank the Tank syndrome, so keep it casual during the week.
Nice. I'm just drinking some black coffee. And as you can see, I'm in the dark again because the power's out. But I figured out a way to still make these, even though the power's out, and we'll just figure it out as we go. Hopefully the power comes back on during this conversation, but if it doesn't, that's not going to stop us. And please, I hope you still continue watching, even though it looks like I'm in the dark here, sweating my balls off. So yeah. So how's it going, bro?
Good. Life's good. Can't complain.
Nice. How did you hear about the podcast? I'm curious.
James Jackson, I believe he texted me right after he finished his, sent it to me, and he's like, yeah, you need to get on this. So I was like, why? It was like, people need to hear your story. So I contemplated it because I'm not a guy that likes to live in the public. Like, I usually stay in the shadows and keep to myself. But as I was watching everybody's, I just got more intrigued and started reliving my memories. And I feel like he was right. It's important for me to talk about what I went through and express to the people of Spanaway how much they mean to me and how important that part was a pivotal part in my life of development of my personality and who I am today.
Absolutely. And I'm actually very thankful for you to come on, because I've already had a lot of people say no to me. And so, which is fine, because I had a feeling not everybody's going to feel comfortable like talking about either the past, or maybe they're insecure about something that's going on with them right now, or there's a multitude of reasons why people might not want to join the podcast. But you today is down. And so I also have to bring up the fact that like we're actually recording again. We tried to record the other day, but the power kept going out and cutting me off, and some other things kept happening, technical difficulties. And so I figured I really wanted Mike to tell his story because we actually talked before we recorded the first time. And in that talk, he said some things that he didn't bring up in the last one. So I'm like, dude, I need to, because as the one producing this podcast, I'm like, man, I need to be a little bit more organized. And so Mike has blessed the podcast again to come on again and basically reshare his story. And so if you see some weird edits going on, if you see like the power's on, power's off, and like all this weird stuff on my end, please disregard and just kind of follow along with Mike's story here and his relationship to Spanaway. So that brings me to Spanaway. First off, when you hear the term Spanaway, the town, what does that?
It means joy. It means love. It means connection. It means I've always kept track of the football team since I played there.
That's more than me.
It just me. It feels like home. Even though I only went to school there for a year and a half, and I probably only lived there for 2.5 years. It's just a point in my life where I felt accepted, where I felt wanted, where I felt connection with people. I started developing friendships and relationships. And through that, I was able to find out who I was and what I was good at and learn how to connect with people. And I was a late bloomer. They say I peaked in high school. I didn't peak in high school. I barely even figured myself out in high school. I didn't know what I wanted to be, didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't know where I wanted to go. I just know when I got to Spanaway, I had friends, and I wanted to stay there as long as I could. Have that joy and feeling because I've never felt it before.
When you bring that up, so like, just give us a brief sort of history on how did you come to Spanaway?
So I moved a lot when I was a kid. Yeah. So you know, born in Washington, my parents moved to California when I was real young. They got divorced before I was one. I think I lived there till third or fourth grade. Moved up here, went to Shadow Lake, Lake Wilderness, all the schools in Maple Valley. I went to Federal Way, Auburn, Kent. And then I moved down to Texas in seventh grade, back to Maple Valley in eighth grade, back to Texas in ninth and 10th grade, went to Tahoma my first semester of my junior year. And then, grades sucked. Mom was like, I was living with my aunt at home, and she's like, grades sucked. That ain't happening. She met a guy that was in the Army and lived in Spanaway. She said, you're coming to Spanaway. I was like, Spanaway? What the fuck? Ended up at Spanaway, and second semester junior year, hit the ground running.
That's crazy.
It was not the reason I bring up all the joys, because while I was moving around, I was not a popular kid. Everybody knows, I'm reserved, voted most shyest in high school. I swear that was made up. But I don't go out of my way to talk to people. Like, I'll sit in the back of the classroom and feel, fine by myself. And so every year I developed the inability to connect with people, because I was like, what's the point? I'm going to move again.
Yeah.
By the end of the year, I'd make a friend and then I'd move. So I just stopped doing that. At Spanaway, it was different because everybody was so friendly and outgoing and accepting that I was sucked in, and just, I don't know.
That's dope.
It's just like in a cloud of acceptance.
Before you got to Spanaway, how many times did you go to the same school, like 2 years in a row?
Kindergarten, second, and third grade, I was at Hugo Reed Primary. That was honestly what I remember before Spanaway being the happiest in my life, because, before all the moving, right,
Yeah.
I was able to make friends. And so I had all the friends. Like, I was friends with the kids in third grade that I was going to birthday parties, playing. Like, I had a social life, and then we up and moved. I had no friends. And I made friends, but then we moved, and I just stopped making friends. So those 3 years, and then high school, my freshman and sophomore year, I went to Katy High School, and that was it.
See, that's crazy. And most of us, especially a lot of us that have already come on the podcast, literally, we all kind of grew up together and had multiple years of seeing each other growing up together. So like, you being an outsider, like, you're one of the first outsiders to not grow up and go to elementary school and junior high with any of us, and then just coming in and getting implanted into a brand new high school already, like, super late too, junior year. And so for you to feel acceptance from the classmates at Spanaway, that's pretty cool that you felt like that.
It was always something that I envied and honestly was jealous of, because seeing that, like, you guys obviously had grown up together, right?
Yeah.
And I never had that, but it was great to see, like, I was happy for you guys and anybody that ever had that. But even to this day, like, I don't have a friend that I could say, I know you since kindergarten, I know you since second and third grade. Like, I don't have anybody. So, but I have a lot of friends that I feel like I have lived with my whole life. Like, you doing this, I don't think there's anybody but you, since I know you and, you're you. I don't know if I do.
Wow. Well, thank you, man. That means a lot, like, for real, because I want as many people to feel comfortable to do this. And like I said, like, you just coming on this is massive courage. And I don't take that lightly, because I know how hard it is to just, to do one of these. So, because like I said, it's a reason why I wear sunglasses on my show, is because, like, I feel insecure at times too. So no, I'm so thankful that for you joining me. Yeah, like, looking back, one of the random things that we talk about when it comes to Spanaway is, who do you think was the funniest senior year?
To me, hands down, Tim Armit.
Hey,
Dude,
that's what I say.
yeah, he just
Do you have
sketch
any?
comedy.
Yeah.
Sketch comedy.
Do you have any examples?
Yeah. I just remember us, we'd always go to Denny's, right? Be hanging out late night, go to Denny's, and he just do rant Superbird. Remember Superbird? He'd order the moons over Miami, and we'd be in there. He'd be like, Superbird, and then his T-Rex. He'd put his arms in his shirt, and he would do the T-Rex, and he just had it I remember him doing that down the hallways at school.
Yeah.
And he could get a super deep voice. He would sing songs that, like, he just was constantly Always on.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Always on. And then I
Do
see
you think
serious sides of him, and I'd be like, don't do that.
other what type of memories do you have from Spanaway that come to mind?
I do have a lot of memories.
It's all good. I mean, we played football together. That's how I came to.
Football. You know what? You know what triggered something
Yeah, yeah,
today?
yeah. I love these.
I was listening. You remember Twisted, Adrenaline Rush?
Yes.
We used to listen to that song on the bus before the games. The first time you guys played that song, I was like, what is this? Dude, I want to run through a wall right now. And still, even every time I hear that song, like I'll sit up when I'm driving. And if I'm in a public place, I start looking at people, looking at them. It just jacks me up and gets me ready to go. So that song. And
I
then
love songs like that.
most of my experiences, anyway, like football. Football was everything to me. It's my religion, my passion. Just gave me it was my escape from life, connection, the locker room, the things that happened in the locker room. It was our connection, you
Yeah.
know, that's how we met. And you know, just seeing the things that would do, you know, the gross shit that they would do in the locker room, trying to outdo each other. And
Do you have any like favorite classes at all or any favorite teachers?
to be honest, I hated school. When I was in class, I really wasn't paying attention most of the time. But I slept a lot. But I remember probably wasn't say my favorite teacher would be Mr. Prindle. He was my first period algebra teacher.
Nice.
And I sat next to Kim. But I liked that class because it was first period and I slept through every single class and I still got it because I think we had an Irish connection. He's an old Irish bald guy and I'm Irish and my last name's Talley. So what math teacher wouldn't like someone with the last name Talley? But I'm just good at math, like naturally. I don't know why. It just is what I'd sleep and he'd call on me and Kim would be like, Mike, wake up, sit up. And he'd call me up to the board because he stopped sleeping. So he's trying to embarrass me and I'd do the problem and go back to sleep. So that was it was an easy class, the easiest class in high school. I brag about it to my kids all the time because I was like, how can you not be good at math? Your last name's Tally and I slept through algebra.
Yeah.
And then I was a TA for Mr. Best in PE. I remember that. A leadership class from Mr. Joseph. I have another memory about that.
Yeah.
I got student of the month
Nice.
in February.
Snap.
Remember I was telling you, I've always been good at art and drawing and stuff. This is the stupidest reason for me to get student of the month. I was just doing what I do, but I made these Cupids. I don't know if you remember this. They're big construction paper Cupids. And they were like, you're being so culturally sound. Yeah. I was like, I'm just doing art. And they just thought it was the greatest thing. So I got student of the month for February. I'm a DNF student. I got student of the month for art. That's a crowning achievement for me.
No, that's dope.
But that class was fun because it was like it was all of us in the same class, and it wasn't like it was just thinking about what was good for the school and talking and communicating. It wasn't like history or math or
Yeah.
you know, you didn't have to. I don't think there's any homework in that class as well. I like that class.
I think I was in that class. Was I in that class?
You were in that class.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the only classes that because I was not an honor student like you. Or
No,
anybody else. Like I was in the lower level.
Well, that
classes,
senior
so
year,
we didn't have a lot of classes.
That senior year, I avoided almost anything honors, anything AP, anything. I really took it easy that like, especially once I knew I got accepted to UW, I really, just kind of checked out and I looked for classes where I didn't have to stretch my bandwidth. So like leadership.
That's what I wish I would have done if I wanted, if I cared about graduating. And I say that now as I coach and to my kids is to do all your hard stuff your freshman and sophomore year because you want, your junior and senior year to be easy.
Yeah.
Why would you want to backload all the hard stuff so you're struggling, scrambling to graduate?
Exactly.
I was backwards. I took all the easy stuff first and failed all my classes. And I didn't graduate anyways, but it's all good.
Yeah. But I feel like that's just a good way to sort of, not that I've done it, but it's also kind of a good way to kind of approach life, like do as much hard stuff that you can early so that later you could sort of not have to. Exactly. So it's.
Well, and that's even a portrayal in life after high school. Like, who wants to do all the hard work when they're older? You're working towards retirement.
1,000%.
That's ultimate goal. And I didn't retirement, that's a big word. I'm almost 50 and didn't even start thinking about it till 2 years ago. And so I wish that I would have spent more time in my 20s, early 50s planning for retirement. And, because there's a real fear as you get older. Like me, I'm in a physical industry. Like, I don't want to do this stuff when I'm 60 and 70.
Exactly.
What am I going to do?
Exactly.
And then how am I going to pay my bills if I don't have an income?
Exactly.
Guidance is something that you need in order to think about. I didn't have none of that growing up, so I had to figure it out, but I'm making sure my kids have it.
Yeah. So it's, man, your story is so interesting too. It's kind of crazy. So my parents left senior year, and you were kind of talking about it on the other, on the other pod that your parents left during school as well. Can you talk about that a little bit, and then what happened to you?
Yeah. So like we said, I came the second semester junior year, and it was slow developing in order to get to know people. But once I started to know people, I think we had spring football, and that's when I clicked with the team. And,
Yeah.
my house was the hangout spot. And so, got friendly with everybody that would come over, and people started to know me. And we got to the end of the year, and my mom was like, "We're moving to Maryland." I was like, "No, the fuck we're
That's
not."
actually, now I think about it, that's actually how I met you. I think I met you at your house that junior
Oh,
year.
was it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, hey, I remember the situation. Dawn, like, I remember your face getting big. Like, what'd you just do? So we had a bunch of people over, and my stepdad was like, "No more people." I was like, "All right." And then,
It's already a packed house.
like, yeah, it's a packed house, and like 3 more people showed up, and it was 3 of the hottest girls at the school. And so I'm out front, and I'm like, "Let me talk to my stepdad." And I'm walking into the door, and he comes out, and he's like, "No more people." I'm like, "What are you talking about? There's this 3, like, these are the most popular. You're going to tell me I can't let the 3 hottest?" He's like, "Nah, no more people." And I told him, I was like, "Look, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I can't let any more people. It's not because it's you. I just can't let any more people in." And you were the first one I seen at the door. I was like, "Hines," and I told you what you did, and you were like, "Do you know what you just did?" Like, I can't believe you just did that. Like, buddy, those are the people. You should have kicked some people out to let them
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. We should
And
have
I just
fixed
said,
that ratio.
if they know who they are, if they watch this, I still to this day feel bad about it. I sincerely apologize. And every time I seen them, they're like, "You remember that time you didn't let me in your party?" They didn't hold it against me, thankfully. We all became friends
I
later
mean, we
on.
probably had a boring time. They probably missed out on nothing. It was probably a boring party anyway, right?
Nah, dude, there was no boring parties at my house.
I was trying to save you. No, I was trying to save you.
Nah, that's
No, that's
okay.
dope.
Everybody knows you're lying.
No, but I do remember, yeah, that's how I met you. I remember. And so what's funny is, like, I remember those stopped, but I didn't realize why they stopped. Like,
Yeah.
why did they?
Because no one lived there.
Yeah.
Why did they
And
stop?
why?
Because my parents moved away. Yeah, it was a big going away party, actually. You might have been
I
there,
think
but
I
it was
might have.
foggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, was there any furniture? Because when they left, I went to a party in Tahoma. So I brought a bunch of my Spanaway friends to Tahoma, and we mixed it up. When I came back, they were gone. And I threw a party in an empty house. Well, that's like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't I? It was just big old party. And yeah, that's why they stopped. And then I ended up living with Joel and his family. They're not letting us party at their house.
Yeah.
Was what it was. But I mean, if it wasn't for my parents being so, you know, nice and inviting and welcoming and happy to meet everybody that I knew, then I wouldn't have had the social network that I did. I don't think.
That's crazy too, because you had only been there for not even a year, and you felt comfortable enough where you're like, no, I want to stay in Spanaway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no,
No, I knew like it was my senior. I didn't want to move somewhere my senior year
yeah,
and have to do it all over again. Like it just wasn't appealing to
yeah,
me. And I was happy where I was at. And even on the football team, like I knew I probably wasn't going to play, right?
yeah.
But I just enjoyed spring, and
Camaraderie.
I can't remember. Yeah, the camaraderie, like it was just a tight knit group,
It really
right?
was.
And it was funny. And like I've been on teams where that was there. I just wasn't a part of it. But being in it, yeah, I didn't want to ruin. I didn't want to leave.
Well, like I always say, I feel like, I mean, this is actually a good point. So, I kind of asked you, like, who'd you think was the funniest? But I just thought there was just a lot of funny, like, a lot of people are just happen to be funny that are from Spanaway,
Yeah.
right?
Everybody is calm. That's what I'm saying. I remember I had an English class and I was sitting there with Corey and Josh and Jared. Like for the first couple of weeks, because I'm the shy, quiet kid. I mean, they're like my crew. Like those are the people that I relate to and wanted to hang out with. But I'm not going to go up. It's intimidating,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because just to be a new kid, I'm not going to come up and be like, "What's up? Can I hang out with you?"
For sure.
That's corny. So I just sat back and I watched, and eventually, I migrated over to the group and was a part of the chaos. But they were like in the back corner and always loud and cracking jokes and pissing the teacher off, and I just thought it was funny. So that's a funny memory. And yeah, it was just always comedy. And I think that's why I liked it there, even in the hallways, goofing off, joking around.
Yeah.
But not like at the expense of people.
Yes.
Like there were
That's,
cracking jokes and clowning, but it wasn't like
yes.
bullying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It wasn't really like you're really trying to cut people down, like jokes,
Yeah.
right? Which you see in like all the, like teen movies and like just happens kind of naturally in other places. I think that's what separates it too, is so many people were just willing to be funny without having to make fun of somebody else. Cause that's always been like an easy target. Hey, somebody looks different or is acting different. So it's easy to kind of make fun of that person. We were really like legit funny as far as not having to do that. So I really, man, yeah, I'm glad that you brought that point up because
Well, everybody fed off each other. It's like when one person, it was like it turned into a competition. Someone always wanted to be, so this person was being funny.
yes,
Well, this person's going to try to be funnier than this person. And then it just kept escalating
yes,
to a whole comedy show
for
until
sure,
we had to go to class.
for sure.
Who can be funny? It's still the bell rings,
Yeah.
And like I said in the other one, I think the diversity of the school, it created that chemistry because there wasn't division, right?
Yeah.
There was never there was cliques, but it wasn't
Based on race.
defined by race.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't defined by race. Where, like I was telling you at Katy, it was like that, down south in Texas. And so that was it was kind of a culture shock, right? At Tahoma, it's mostly white kids, one black kid who I said was, one of my best friends. And so there's not a lot of room for division. But you come to Spanaway and there's everything all over the place. And yeah, there was no division.
No,
All love. That's what I'm saying. So much love at that school. It's crazy.
I think that's what really makes it
Yeah.
us different is like, not only were we diverse, but we were diverse and pretty funny. We were just a pretty funny people class, especially. And so that's what's, kind of crazy. So we had graduated and, you were at graduation, but you didn't exactly graduate, you're saying. So then
Cried, but I didn't graduate.
yeah. And then so how much longer were you in Spanaway after that?
A football season.
Okay. Yeah.
That was it. I went, in my mind, I made an attempt to focus on friends just graduated. So I'm going to see what I can do, right? I didn't know, I knew I wasn't getting into UW. There's no way I was getting in, my grades, but they're like, oh, you can go to a community college, and there was still opportunities, but I tried to take it serious. And, after about 3 weeks, I just kind of faded off on the class. And the only reason I truly and honestly went to school was to play football again and to socialize and hang out with people. After football season was over, I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. I'd show up third period and leave fourth period and, never went a full day. And at one point I just quit going, and I was like, yeah, that's it.
See, this is what's crazy to me about your story is you're still in Spanaway and like, man, you're like bouncing around houses and stuff. And
during school, during the school year, I stayed at the Martinez house, and then I lived at Dustin Mom's house, and I lived at my aunt's house in Fife, and all trying to navigate.
I heard someone
through high school.
Somebody say you were like, maybe you were saying like, were you homeless like at points too or something like that?
Yeah, I always had somewhere to go because my family's in Maple Valley.
Okay.
And that's where my roots are, right? My grandma's got a property there where my aunt and my cousins live, but that's not where I wanted to be,
Yeah.
right? Because I wasn't happy there. I'm not going to drive from Maple Valley to Spanaway every day, and I'm not uprooting again. If I would do that, I'll go live with my mom in Maryland. So I tried everything I could to stay in Spanaway, right? And yeah, I've slept on people's couches, and living with the Martinez family was a blessing,
So,
right? It gave me what I'm so blessed with today is I'm a great father, and I'm not too long on one because people tell me this. I am a good dad. I have structure. I'm disciplined. I show love. I'm physically affectionate. I tell my kids I love them every day, and that's stuff I never got growing up. And I've learned. I live with so many different families. I was able to pick and choose the best parts of every family and develop my household
wow.
structure.
Yeah.
And the Martinez family kind of gave me a core value of that because my family wasn't really family. Like, we didn't sit at the dinner
Yeah.
table. We didn't go to church. We went to work. We came home and drank and smoked.
Yeah.
That was it every day. And so when I went to their house, they made me go to church, right? It was a culture shock, but it was a blessing. And what I'm getting to is I didn't want to burden them with my
Yeah.
issues. And so I moved out, and then that's when I started hopping around
For sure.
because I'm hard to deal with, and I love them and didn't want them to have to stress out about what was going on.
Yeah. And now to bring up your, you said, yeah, kids, we'll get into that in a little bit, but so like during this time, did you have siblings, anybody else that was kind of like,
Not, not like
yeah,
around.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So,
It's so I actually counted it. I think last time I told you I was 16, I had 15. So I made sure it was
okay.
right. I got 8 on my mom's side and 5 or 6. Oh, there's so many. Yeah.
Because a lot of them were so much younger, they weren't really around or anything like that, right? They were pretty much
No,
either with,
yeah,
yeah,
no,
more,
no one ever was Eric was my age. He's 2 years younger than me. And Jonathan, he's older, but he wasn't he's a cousin. He wasn't a sibling. So in Texas, those were the only two. Like, we used to fight a lot.
yeah,
And I get my butt. They would team up on me because I forgot to say that. So they would fight me because I'm the little white kid, and they just wanted to beat me up. And we watched karate movies all the time. So those are the only siblings that were really my age. I had a cousin that was my age. His name was Randy. He grew up in Maple Valley. And he's really the closest sibling that I've had in my life that I could say, I grew up with because he's been around for everything. But the rest of them were young. I still talk to him every day and give him life. And,
yeah.
my sister Tara, she keeps bugging me for this podcast. She's like, when's it going to come out? When she wants to watch it?
Oh, that's tight. That's tight. I mean,
Yeah.
and you gave her a shout out, so she'll be able to see, hear her name being a shout out on the podcast. So that's dope. So if you have any other memories that come about from high school or, any like sort of other random stuff, feel free.
Yeah, I do. I was talking to Jay. I had to verify this with Jay Thomas, right? Remember the senior basketball game
Yes.
against the teacher? This is my highlight, high school sport highlight. I ain't really playing football. This is all I remember about the whole game. I really don't remember if we won or lost, but me and Jay decided we're just gonna say that we won, okay? Because it was our senior year, we won. So I forgot my socks. So I'm out there in these wool lumberjack socks. I get in the game, and my guy was Mr. Joseph. And Joseph was inbounding to Hoseth, and I don't play basketball. I play defense. That's
Yeah.
it. I can't dribble. I can't
This is
shoot.
this
I
is the
can steal the
faculty
ball.
game against the faculty.
Yeah, it's seniors against the teachers.
Okay.
Right. Hoseth's a baller, and I guess Mr. Joseph's pretty good. I don't play
Yeah.
basketball. I'm a football player. But I get in, and they're doing. We just scored. They just scored. No, we just scored, and they're doing the inbound. And Joseph throws it to Mr. Hoseth, and he's holding it. And I smacked the ball out of his hand so hard, and it bounced, and I grabbed it, kicked it back to Jay Thomas at the top of the key, and he switched it for a 3. And I looked at those two, and they're like, "Did that just happen?" As I was and all those students went crazy and went back down to the other side, and Joseph's bringing it down. And I got to steal again. I don't remember who I passed it to, and that's the end of my memory because I think I went out of the game after
Nice.
that.
Hey.
That to me, seeing their faces like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And then kicking it for the switch. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun for me.
You also had a story about how somebody took you to Fife or something like that. Can you?
Oh yeah. I feel horrible about this, Robert. So it was after a practice, or I think we had a Saturday
Like a
practice,
wrestling
and we didn't have a
practice?
game. Was it wrestling? I don't remember what it was. I just remember it was after something, and I left my wallet at my aunt's house in Fife, and I needed a ride to go get it. And I asked Robert. I said, "Hey," I asked a couple people, and they all said no. But then I asked Robert. You know, he's the type of guy who'll do anything for his homies. He offered to give me a ride, and it was rainy. He drove that Chevy, loved the truck every day. Didn't have a good
That
heater,
red one,
and
right?
the red Chevy Love. And we drove out there, and I didn't drive, so I didn't know my way around town.
Yeah,
He
Fife is
didn't
not
ever drive
close.
further. No, and he didn't ever drive further than the school, so he didn't know how to get there, and we got lost. And he went to flip a U-turn, and he sideswiped this Datsun, right? And he hit it, and we were both like, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?" And the guy pulled over, and he jumped out of his car, and Robert, he's like, "Should I run? Should I run?" I was like, "I don't know." And then he didn't run, thankfully, and he pulled over. This thing's got a V6, and I'd have caught you. And we're like, "We ain't running." I felt bad because I didn't know this, but Robert didn't have his license yet, and his parents let him drive his truck to school. And that was it. And then, you know, he took a chance and helped to help me get my boat. And we didn't even get my wallet because we never found my house. And I feel bad. Robert, I'm sorry. I'm still sorry.
Yeah, because
You know, I
it
don't
was
even
one
know
of
how.
those vehicles where, he lived not even a mile away from school. So it was one of those
Yeah.
vehicles where it's like, yeah, just drive it to school and drive it back. And that's it. That's, not go out to Fife. So
Not to five. Yeah, not to five. And that's what I mean. Like, if he'd have told me I don't have my license, I'd have been like, yeah, no, no. You know, don't break the law.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
but I didn't know because there was a bunch of kids with cars and had their licenses at that point. I wasn't one of them. I just assumed, you know, he had a truck, he had his license.
Yeah. Before we,
My
no,
bad.
I feel bad for anybody that has to move anytime during high school because especially if you
Yeah.
spent like a lot of years with the same people, which wasn't your case. Your case was like, man, you kept moving over and over and over and over and over again. And then,
And I was used to it, right?
yeah,
I was okay.
that was the norm.
Everywhere I went, I was like, all right, moving again.
So it's
When I
impossible.
left Katie,
Yeah.
yeah, when I left Katie, I mean, in hindsight, that's probably one of the worst decisions I ever made because I had structure and good grades. I was not who I was at Spanaway. I had discipline, and at Spanaway, it was just a free for all, do whatever you want. But when I left there, I didn't care. It wasn't a big deal because I didn't have a connection like I had at Spanaway.
Yeah.
So when my parents wanted to move, I was like, I'll be homeless before I go live anywhere else.
Wow.
That was
That
what
was
I
your
took.
love for Spanaway for sure. But
Yeah,
like,
at 16.
because when you came, like, who was like the first person you met? And
Nathan Elliott
okay.
in that English class we had. So my parents let us hang out. And this was my claim to fame and how I rose. First day in class, I'm sitting there and I look at him and he kind of looks like he's cool, right? And right at the end of class, I don't remember the second or third period, but I look at him, I'm like, hey, my parents you want to come over? Yeah. So after school, we went to my house and my garage was up, right? They had the pool table and the couch and all. Got right. And went to school the next day. He invited his friend Joel. Joel had the cool kicking it now. And after that, you know, Joel knows everybody in the world because he grew up there. Mr. Popular and started telling people Mike Talley's cool. He'd come hang out at his house. His parents cool and we'd hang out there. And even if we weren't
Yeah.
partying, like it was just a spot to just go hang
Yes.
out and, you know, a place we could congregate.
Yeah. Because there wasn't very
and
many.
wouldn't have to worry. Yeah, no, yeah, because, you know, I don't think we had coffee shops back
Exactly.
then. It was a parking lot somewhere, and not everybody had a car. And my
Exactly.
house was in walking distance of the school, so
Yeah. Because I
it
was
was
walking distance from the school, which meant you were walking distance away from. You were like one of the first people's houses where it was like, oh, it's a house where you
right
can
here.
come and go. Is
I had to walk. I don't remember what elementary school that was. I lived on 16th
it
Street,
was Evergreen.
so I had to walk down this street and then through that school and then down that cul-de-sac where everybody parked that didn't have a
Yeah.
parking pass. That's how I got to school.
Yeah. That's that's crazy. Yeah, that's because I lived right there on 14th. I lived on 14th, literally the street right next to Spanaway Lake. In fact, where we used to have practice, there's a fence I could jump to get onto the field. I would still have to go to the locker room and change and all that stuff. But like to just get on the field, I had a fence that literally was right there that I jumped all the time just to get back and forth to school.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever not ridden a bus. And it sucked for me because I couldn't say, oh, I missed the bus. I can't go to school today.
Yeah.
Like, not,
You
yeah,
don't have
walk
that
your ass to
excuse.
school. You don't have that excuse. Took that one on the book.
Now we're about to get in. If you have anything from high school that just comes up, because this happens all the time where random memories get unlocked. Yeah, just feel free to bring it up, and then you can expand on that. But you've lived kind of a crazy life, so like I kind of want to guide us through, and we tried to do it in the other pod and go by years, but it's just so complicated. And 27 years is a lot of time to try to navigate through. So we'll just go to like sort of events that happened in your life, right? And so
Yeah.
you talked about in the last one that you got shot. Can you just kind of tell us kind of what happened there?
So after high school, I didn't have a job and I wasn't really focused on going to school. I entered community college twice, dropped out. School just wasn't for me and I didn't have any direction, but I figured out I learned how to hustle, and it's something that I became good at, but it played a pivotal point in my life. I know it wasn't the best thing to do. And just to make it clear, I didn't ever sell crack or heroin. I sold weed, which is legal nowadays, right? So I sold weed. I was just helping people get stoned. That's it. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
So yeah, that's what I did after high school for a considerable amount of time. And in this incident where I got shot, someone had there was a meeting. I was living in Maple Valley at the time. There was a meeting, and it was a gang from Seattle. Thought I was a punk and robbed me. They tried to rob me and so I had to. I was in a position where I had to let them take it, but I wasn't gonna let them keep it. And I don't get robbed. Like that was my mentality back then. So I had to chase them in a high-speed car chase down Maple Valley Highway into downtown Renton. This is during rush hour traffic at 5:00. And we pulled up to a light and there was a blah, 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 and I ended up getting shot in my shoulder, went in here, came out here, and in the back of my head, hit me in the back of my head. The driver that was with us got shot in the ribs. And he was so big that a bullet hit his head, bounced off the back of his head into the ceiling. This dude was a beast.
He didn't die?
No, he didn't die. He went and played a football game the next day.
Wow.
This dude was a beast. He was a beast. But from that incident, because it happened in broad daylight and rush hour traffic, it was on the news. And so I was Washington's most wanted for like 2 days. And I was bleeding so bad. Like, my uncle was a biker. He was a president of a biker club. And so he was the go-to guy. And like, hey, I'm in this situation. What do I do? And so my cousin was with me and he hid my cousin out. And then I was at his house and trying to get the bleeding. I ended up having to turn myself in because I didn't want to die. I was like, I'd rather go to prison, than die. And so I turned myself in and I was sitting in there waiting. And they didn't have enough evidence on me while I was sitting in there. And so they can only keep you for 72 hours. So they tried to mess us up. When I first got in there, they put me in the same cell as the guy who shot me because they caught me too. And so we locked eyes where we just looked at each other. We didn't do anything. They were trying to get us to start fighting again.
Yeah.
That's, you guys think, no, we didn't do it. I mean, a slingshot, I'm just fighting anybody.
Yeah.
I'm fucked up, right? And then so they take us to our holding cells, and I'm in there and like reading the Bible, I start praying and hanging out with the church. Feel like I'm preparing to go to prison for a long time because I'm charged with drive-by shooting, and attempting in the public area. I'm ready to go away. I've accepted it. And 72 hours later, they released me because they have enough evidence. Everybody that watched it, there's so many different stories who have it. I could talk about it now because this happened 20 years ago, so statute of limitations is over. That was a point in my life where I was like, I need to reconsider what I'm doing because this is not.
Yeah. And then, like, what actions did you take after that? Like, to kind of try to.
I'm not gonna say, like, admittedly, everybody lives with some sort of addiction. Everybody, like you were saying, you're addicted to knowledge and bettering yourself. And that's a great addiction. People have positive addictions, people have negative, some people have substance. I've never been an alcoholic or a drug addict, but the hustle, like hustling is because it's an easy fallback. When you're broke, life's tough, it's like I can just go hustle some shit and build back up, right? To not result back to that has been a difficult obstacle to overcome in my life. And I'm happy to say I don't do it anymore today, right? But it's just something you can't just stop. Like once you're a hustler for life. But I incorporated into other things. And so I didn't go to school. I didn't, get a job. I was just trying to figure out what I was going to do. And, ultimately I think I resulted back to hustling again. And then I ended up, but I was smarter about it. It was just friends, right? I wouldn't mess with people I didn't know. It was like
because
what
you
I
still
wanted.
got into other situations after that too,
Yeah.
right? There was and
Yeah, there's a lot of situations that really that wasn't even the worst one. That wasn't even the worst
and
one.
as tastefully as you can, and don't worry, I could try to help you out with it too. What is one of the worst situations that kind of happened?
So that actually happened before I got shot.
See, my bad.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. In that situation, I had an apartment in Eagles Landing, and
Right next
a lot
to
of people,
Parkland Putters, right?
in Parkland Putters, yeah, Parkland Putters right there. And there's people that know where it's at. But I think that was the peak of my hustling. Like I had just learned how to hustle, and then the people I was hanging out with, they were developing, and I was developing right next to them to the point where we were making a considerable amount of money. And I could afford my own apartment. I had a new car, and we were kicking it, and we were every night, and that's where I actually got to a point where I was comfortable enough with myself. I could start dating girls, and I didn't have a problem funding things. So everybody wanted to hang out with me because I always had the money, and I didn't have a problem financing the parties because
you could afford it.
I was making. Yeah, I could afford it definitely. And this is where I had to learn: be careful who you trust, because not everybody's really your friend. So someone that was definitely one of my best friends at that time has set me up. And it just was a horrible situation because it was one of the nights that I just happened to be alone, and someone knocked on my door. But they opened the door and they were like, "Hey, so-and-so said I could come get a bag from you." I was like, "Not here." And locked the door and started calling my friends. I was like, "Hey, I need someone to come hang out tonight." And nobody would come over. I called like 3 or 4 people, right? And nobody would come over. No one would come hang out. I'm like, fuck, this shouldn't happen. And I knew something was about to happen. And
So this dude's in the house.
I went to bed that
This
night.
dude's in the house already.
No, I didn't let him in.
Okay.
But a week before, like I was saying, my friend was there. I trusted him. I'd leave him in my house alone. I went and took some girls home, and I came back while I was gone. He was like scoping out my house. And then this happened like a week later, right? Nobody was there. I was by myself. And that's rare because I'm always having people over, right? And it just weird how the whole thing worked out. But I was by myself about 3 a.m. I threw a rock through or a brick through my sliding glass door. And I had to defend myself.
Yeah.
Right? It was self-defense. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of the apartment, and it was a really traumatic experience for me. I got PTSD from it. I couldn't be by myself for a long time. Like to this day, this is the first time in my life that I have not had a dog. Like I've always had to have a dog because I feel like they're alert. And I just felt comfort that in their alertness, they would let me know if someone was outside. Because if I don't have someone here or a dog, I'm constantly looking out the window, out the door, making sure like what's going on outside. I have always had cameras on my house. Like I just have a fear of what's going on outside of my house because I can't see.
That kind of comes with that life, is that paranoia.
It does, the paranoia. The paranoia. That I was only 19 when that happened. So I was so naive and young and like I said, I didn't have friends.
Yeah.
So when everybody wants to kick it with you because it was the greatest feeling of, and the power because, you hold all the money and what everybody wants, and then phone's ringing all day. And
it's overwhelming.
When that goes away, it is overwhelming, but you learn how to navigate it because it's just like running a business, right? So you formulate how to run a business because it's the structure of a business. Elon Musk said this. He said drug dealers are the best business people in the world because they know how to form a corporate structure of a workforce underneath them and supply and demand of products.
Yeah.
And I
I
took
didn't know
that
he said that,
to
but
heart.
if he says so, yeah, I could see it.
He
Yeah.
did. It was the Facebook post. Elon Musk said that. And I took that to my construction business,
Yep.
right? And that's part of the reason why I was successful in my construction business, because I took hustling and then the years in construction and I just put them together and it was easy. But yeah, that happened and I learned a lot from that. And so I wasn't even 21 yet.
Yeah.
When you old enough to get into a bar, I got in with a fake ID on that.
So let's and like speaking of 21, so I like asking people these random questions. Were you around for like the earthquake and for 9/11? Were you around for any of those?
Yeah, yeah, I was. Both of them. I know where I was at too. On 9/11, I was at my aunt's house and I was in college, right? I think I enrolled, couldn't remember the Green River Highline, one of them, but I was up getting ready to go to school. I was tying my shoes and they had this big TV. My aunt would fall asleep with the news on. That's the only reason it was on. And they showed it, but like, I'm so disconnected with the world and politics and stuff that's going on. It didn't pertain to me. I didn't care.
Yeah.
So tying my shoes and it showed that. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. And then I go to school and it's all they're talking about. I guess I didn't realize it was that big of a deal until I realized it was a big
Yeah.
deal. And so, yeah, that's where I was for
I
that.
also think that's just a great way. I think more people should think of a lot of things like that, though, even though,
Yeah,
that was that was a monster event, right? Like you felt the weight
yeah,
of it after, time has gone on
yeah. Later
later
on,
on, right? But I feel like more people would be happy if they looked at a lot of events like that that don't directly affect them, that
like that sucks, but
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't.
Like, hey, this sucks, but in my own personal life, I'm focused on like X, Y, and Z thing that's right in front of me. And, some of this other world tragedy is terrible, but, I still need to take care of X, Y, and Z that's right in front of me. So
Yes.
I don't know.
I have a quick story about how that affected my wife. So my wife was from California. She was working at Chili's at the time, and one of her coworkers was on the flight,
No
and
way.
she was in New York, right? And she was at a family function, and she called to work, and she was like, "Hey, can someone cover my shift? I want to stay longer." And nobody would cover her shift, and so she had to get on the
No
plane.
way.
And because they got the ones with the most gas,
Yeah.
right? That one was headed to LA. And so everybody at the work, they just were miserable because if someone would have covered her shift, she wouldn't have got on the flight and she wouldn't.
Yeah, dude. See, that's crazy. Oh, that's crazy.
Uh,
How guilty all those people feel. And then also, like, man, if you ever have a chance to stay in New York or go back to work, just stay in New York. And then for the earthquake, where were you at? Do you remember that?
Same house. Yeah, same house. I live with my cousin and his little brother, they're like hillbilly rednecks. They're just roughnecks. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're rowdy, right? And we fight. We used to fight a lot. We'd wrestle. We'd come home. Me and Randy would come home from a night party and go on and beat my little cousin Joe up because we're drunk, fucking with him. I'm sleeping in the back room one night, and I think I just went to sleep for like 2 hours. And I start seeing, I'm thinking they're out in the living room fighting, and they woke me up. And when you woke me up, it's like waking up a bear. I'm pissed off. Don't wake me
Yeah.
up. All right. I run down the hall and what the fuck are you guys doing? And there's nobody out there. And the house is like, all right, it's a 2-story house. So it's doing this. And I wake everybody up, tell them, we're having an earthquake. They're like, shut up. Yeah, no, we're having an
Yeah.
earthquake. Yeah. It was a funny experience, but it was scary at
Hell
the
yeah.
same
Because
time.
I was in a 2-story house too. And what's funny is
Yeah.
I felt that too, that swaying of the house, because it's weird
Yeah.
because the house I was in, like the front yard, it looks like a 1-story house, but the second story actually goes down, right? So you don't realize it's
Is it split
yeah.
level? Like you walk in the door, you can go up or down?
No, you just go. No, it's actually no. You just only go down. So like you walk in and then
Okay.
there's stairs that go down, but you don't realize. So you don't realize like you're actually coming in on the second floor, but it's like the first floor, and there's like a below floor, I guess, like a right.
Yeah. Yeah, basement
Yeah,
floor.
so because it feels like we're on the first floor, I didn't realize like it doesn't feel like you're in a two-story house until it starts swaying. And then you're like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, no, we are not on like, this does not feel like we are on the first floor. And so being in that house
yeah,
was a trip because I was like, is this whole house going to just tip over? Because yeah, that
yeah.
was a trip.
I think about this. When we were downtown in a higher
I
story of
cannot
like a
imagine that
30 or 42-story
because
building,
it must
imagine
feel like
how,
you're flying
yeah,
back and forth, like,
yeah, yeah,
meters, feet, whatever at a time. That's got to be crazy. So,
yeah.
so you said you had kids, kind of bring that up. Just ages is kind of good. And just kind of like, what it's like raising these kids and stuff like that.
Yeah. So after all the crap, I met their mom, and then we had a kid a year later. And so it kind of got me in a situation where I need to change my life. I had my first son in 2005. He's 19 now, graduated. So the only thing I've ever told him is don't be like me, be better than me. And he has in every aspect of
That's
his
dope.
life because he graduated high school. He was a 2-year starter on board, two-way starter on varsity and team captain for football. So that was,
Were you proud?
I mean, I'm happy he graduated, but that was the shit for me to go watch
That's
that.
tight.
He decided he didn't want to go to college, and so he started working
What
construction.
position did he play, by the way?
He was, believe it or not, he was a lineman. He was a D tackle. Yeah, he was a D tackle. He hated when I say this because he always played right. He's just so fresh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Dad
yeah,
joke.
because he's a tank.
Yeah.
He's big, right? And so they always put him on the line, and he just took it to heart. Because I'm a DB, when I trained him, like I coached him most of his life, we always did footwork, and he always had the best footwork on the
Yeah.
team. And so he was quick. His get off, like he was always on the hit before they could get out of their stance. And so he shined. And it was just a proud moment for me to see him not only start on varsity 2 ways, like play varsity. I didn't play it. So he's playing, starting on both sides of the ball and a team captain on the team.
Yeah. Damn, that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. So now he's pursuing a career. He's trying to be a pro snowboarder. He works at Snoqualmie Pass and rides with, the owners of Live Tech. He's got YouTube videos that he's on, posts stuff on Instagram every day. And that's probably because I've been boarding 30 years. I took him snowboarding when he was 2,
Wow.
right? 2 is how long he was snowboarding. He just found that passion when he got out, and that's where he's at now. And then every 3 years, I had a kid. Anybody that has kids know diapers suck, right? So you're really happy when your kids get out of diapers. But when your kid gets out of diapers and then you have another kid, you're like, damn, I'm back in the fucking diapers. So I did that for 9 years. I had a kid every 3 years. Then I had my daughter in 2008. She's 16 now. She lives with her grandma and her mom, and she's studying to be a mental health counselor. And she's getting really in depth into addiction. Her mom's got diagnosed, and she kind of is concerned that she might get it.
Mm.
So she is like studying it and wants to know more about it. And she's trying to get an education, go to UW to do that. And I cried when I had her because it was a daughter.
Yeah.
When I had my son, I was like, yeah, excited. But when I had my daughter, overwhelming emotion, and having a daughter gave me a whole different perspective on women.
Yeah.
Growing up, I had a good relationship with my mom, where I never had girlfriends. And the girls that I did mess with was not serious. It was just, but when I had my daughter, it was like a
Game changer.
whole different outlook on women. Yeah, because I started looking at myself like, am I the type of person I would want my daughter to be with? And then I'm looking at, am I treating this woman how I would want someone to treat my daughter? So it just changed the way that I look at women in a whole,
Yeah.
right? I don't say the B word anymore. I don't say it, right? Back in the day, I was like, I won't say that anymore because I don't know what you call my daughter because she's not. She's the sweetest thing in the world. And so I wouldn't ever want to call someone else that and disrespect. So my youngest son, he's 13 now. I had him in 2009. I have custody of him. He lives with me. And he's me, but a foot taller. I'm probably exaggerating, but he's taller. And God cursed me with me because he's a pain in my ass. He just nitpicks, but like he's really, He's the sweetest kid ever. Good heart, but he pushes my buttons on purpose. And
That's good.
yeah, he's just annoying, but he's got good grades. He's a football player, all right.
Position does
But
he play?
he plays defensive end and right tackle, and so
Oh, like
they
his
put
brother.
him in right
Or
tackle.
he plays line like his brother did. That's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah,
You're a
but it's
DB.
different because
You're a DB, and you have all
no,
these
that's what
lineman
I'm saying.
kids.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
hilarious.
That's what cracks me up, right? And so I let them be what they are because my son was a short, stocky tank, and then you got uh,
Your
my
youngest.
younger son. Yeah, he played on his team last year, and he was like, I was the smallest kid on the team. He's the tallest kid on the
Wow.
team,
As the
not by a full head,
wow. Okay,
taller
that's
than the whole
crazy.
team. He's at his junior high now. They're about to start football on the 10th. There's a couple kids there, but he's still one of the biggest kids. And now he's got experience and development. He played when he was 7 and 8, but we took a break because he was soft. He wasn't a football player. And then once he got taller than me, he was shorter than me when I went to prison. And then when I got out, he was taller than me. I was like, you're playing football now. Right.
Yeah.
And so he's jacked. Like, he's in his 3-point stance, and it just reminds me of TJ Watt. It reminds me of
Yeah.
TJ Watt because he's got definition in his arm right here that kids are not supposed to
Yeah.
have. Like, he's chiseled at 13. Cracks me up. But his coaches tell me, like, I've raised him so well because I'm a football coach. So I raised my kids in the football authority. He listens to direction well, and he follows direction well. He does what he's supposed to do before he's being told. So when they do their drills and they mess up, their punishment is push-ups. They tell me he's the only one that would go do his push-ups without having to be told. And he's the same way in school. Like, he follows directions. He does what he's supposed to do. Shows up every day. Like, they're just I'm blessed to have well-mannered, respectful, good kids. My oldest kid, I feel like he is who he is because he doesn't want to be how I am. Like, I can't even get him to do. He was applying for a loan. I was trying to tell him how to fill it out to get approved for the loan. He's like, I'm not. You're not. Are you my kid? You know what I mean? Like, I grew up breaking the law, and he doesn't want to do anything. He won't drive a car with bad test.
Is that the one did you coach there at his high school when he was playing? Or because I remember you brought up the fact that you coached. Talk a little bit about your coaching career.
So I coached because of my son. So I didn't play in high school, right? And when we finished, most people, that's the end of their career.
Mine.
They're satisfied with that,
right? I don't know if I was satisfied. I had some Jones in that I should have pursued it for sure. Like, try to do more semi-pro or something like that, just to kind of get that last bit out of me. Cause I did have a little bit of jonesing to hit somebody.
If you were around me, you could have played. I played 10 years semi-pro. So if I ever ran into you, and I'm a recruiter, I'm a really good recruiter. I got convinced to play by a good friend of mine. His name is James Good. I played youth football with him. His name is Boom Man, rest in peace. He convinced me to come out and play for the King County Jaguars like the year before I had my son. And, it was a good experience, and it developed my football knowledge extremely because I was playing with people that played in the NFL before. And so to play with them, learn from that. And unlike high school, I worked my way to a starting position, and was able to travel to Florida and play in the national championship. And it scratched my itch. Like, I felt satisfied. That was my college.
That's awesome.
So I didn't go to college. Yeah. And so when I finished that.
Plus, you're a little bit heavier, right? Because you said you were pretty light.
I got up to 220. I was 135 in my senior year. And I know that because I wrestled 135 and I didn't have to cut weight.
Yeah, dang.
So after high school, I discovered beer and cheeseburgers. Excuse me, I was living off 99-cent Jumbo Jacks at Jack in the Box because I'm trying to afford to eat. So it's beer and cheeseburgers for forever.
Those actually don't come with cheese. You have to pay like an extra 30 cents for the cheese.
Jumbo Jack with cheese.
Yes, because trust me, I know. I've been on a Jumbo Jack diet myself.
You're on that diet too.
And I'm like, and I want cheese, and then they're like, oh yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, never mind, I don't need cheese. Just give me the Jumbo Jack.
So just go to Safeway, get yourself a package of cheese, and then go get it.
I did that a lot. I used to do. I mean, that was because I would think, oh yeah, I have some cheese slices at home. I'll just bring these at home and then just throw the patty with the cheese inside the microwave for like 20 seconds, put it back in the bun, and then, yeah, you're good to go. So, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I got up to 220. And then when I started playing football, I started working out again. I got down to 185. And yeah, I was pretty solid. I was a hitter. I wasn't fast at all by any means. You know, my knowledge, I got good at being in the right spot at the right time to make plays, and it just worked out well. And so when my son started playing football in second grade, for the Bonnie Lake Raptors, they're a new organization. They have a head coach for the team. So they asked me to be the head coach because I explained to him my history with Katie and semi-pro. He was like, "You want to be the head coach?" It's like, all right. So you would think it would be easy,
Yeah.
right? Coaching, it was a second, third, and fourth grade team. So when I came, I had a lot of football knowledge. I was like, "Oh, we're going to run this offense. We're going to run this defense." And I came in with like a 20-page playbook. Mind these kids are second
God.
grade, so them can't read the
Too
book.
much.
Yeah, we
Too
had
much,
like
brother.
way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we, about week 2, we realized these kids can't remember all this. We scrapped everything and went to one formation, just started focusing on the fundamentals of tackling and blocking. And that's all football is. So if you can do that, you'll be successful. I ended up coaching. I stopped coaching his team after 2 years because it was affecting him. So there's a theory, right? If you're a father, you could tell your kid, so he's blue in the face, to break down, to do certain things, and they'll be like, I won't get it. But if that coach says that same thing, it clicks right away because he's a coach.
Yeah.
They have a different respect. Your dad don't know what he's talking about, but the coach does. And it was affecting him because during practice, he would argue with me and then would cry when I would tell him to do something. So I had to step away from him for his development. So I went up and I started coaching the older teams, which was better because my knowledge wasn't overwhelming for them like it was the younger kids. And I coached with them for a long time and then eventually I worked my way into high school and I coached at Kentwood for a couple of years. And then I was like pursuing, like I want to go coach in college. Like I had opportunities.
When you were at Kentwood, what was your coaching position?
Oh, I was a DB coach.
Nice. Okay.
So I coached the DBs. I was responsible for the varsity DBs, the passing scout coordinating. So I had to watch all the film of the next opponent, put together all their passing plays, and then I would draw the playbooks that we would run in practice with the scout team to stop them. And so my highest achievement on that, you know Sam Heward?
Yeah.
I know you know the name Heward.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Damon Heward's son, Sam Heward, with Kennedy, right?
Yes.
We played against them in like week 7, and with the work we put in, we were able to stop him to 2 touchdowns. We had the first interception of the year and hold him to less than 200 yards.
Nice.
So he's averaging 5 touchdowns a game and 400 yards a game. So to get those achievements against him,
that's amazing.
You know, it was a proud moment for me. And then we ended up winning the league championship that year. We won the Kent Crown because there's 4 schools in Kent.
Yeah.
So whoever wins the best out of those 4, you win the Kent Crown, and then we won the Covington Crown because there's Kent Lake and Kentwood, and then they battled for the Covington Crown, and then we won that too. And then there was like 6 or 7 kids that went D1. Like it was a great experience for me, and again, scratching my football itch, and just on top of me being able to coach, it was good to work with kids that needed me in their life. Because these kids had all the talent in the world.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
But they didn't have any guidance, right? Yeah, they didn't have anybody telling them what they need to do in their next steps. And I still keep in contact with these kids today as adults.
That's awesome.
And that's a really gratifying experience where, you know, we talked about I found my purpose in life after doing so much bad and stupid stuff that I found out what my niche is. Like I'm here to inspire, lead, and motivate people that don't know what's going on. Like, I'm giving them the guidance that I needed when I was a kid to make sure they don't go through the same things that I went through, right? You don't need to go sell drugs. You don't need to be in the streets. You don't need to be in gangs. You don't need to be thugging. You need to be here. You need to be going to school. You need to graduate. And even if you don't go to college, you know, you need to get into trades. You need to figure out what you're going to do with your life to make money that will not end you up in jail or dead, because there's kids that have passed away that I coach. It's really tragic.
Your life,
with the
you probably should be dead, to be honest.
Should be dead, or in prison.
Yeah, like your life, I mean, just
making one bad decision.
For sure.
But their bad decision cost them their life, or their bad decision and it's tragic to see that, and
For
it
sure.
hurts. It really hurts, but it's warming to see the success.
And that's why I really wanted to redo this, because you brought that up the first time I talked to you last week. And then this last time we did the pod, you didn't really bring that up. And I was like, dude, you didn't bring,
We covered
we
so
did. And
much
it is
that I
much
think
longer.
we have
This
yeah,
is a much streamlined podcast so far today. Like, we've been kind of hitting points on point, because we
yeah,
kind of, when you haven't seen a friend after a while, and like, you just kind of like, you just start chit chatting and you go down rabbit trails. So me and Mike were
yeah.
definitely doing that. And, yeah, and sometimes we got off track, but like today we've kind of been on point. And so I'm just glad that we're able to like, just touch on a lot of these things that maybe we weren't able to cover in the last one. And this is the biggest reason why I wanted to make sure that people got to hear that message, especially because I really believe that, man, you can help a lot of people with just your story and just kind of everything you've overcome. And, one of the other things that, you told me that I was very proud to hear is basically, because when I talked to you last week, you had just gotten laid off.
Yeah.
But you were pretty nonchalant. You were like, hey, I have this job interview on Monday. And I was like, oh, and he seemed pretty cool about it. And then I talked to him, after that Monday, and I was like, did you get the job? And he's like, oh, yeah, yeah, I got it. And yeah, and it was just like, Mike's like, trust me, I've been kind of doing in this industry for 20 plus years. So I'm pretty good at what I do. And, and so even somebody that's, like gone through all the craziness in your life with, just hustling and like troubles with the law, like, how are you able to be in a position like this? Can you kind of give us a brief history of like like how you came into the position for you to just not be unemployed for more than, because that's right. You've even said this too. It's really hard for people to get jobs out there. There's like 1,000
It
something
is.
waiting
So
list.
to put it in perspective, in the union, there's 1,000 people. Like, there's no jobs. Like, if you go down, anybody goes downtown Seattle, you're seeing cranes all over the place. In Bellevue, there's cranes all over the place. There's not a lot of work right now. Like, the economy's struggling, and so there's 1,000 people in our hall that's looking for work, and every day, I get 10 to 15 calls from people like, hey, are you hiring? You know anybody that's hiring? And when I was just working, I'm a foreman, so I run crews, so people come looking for me for a job. 10 people a day, and going into the office, they used to get mad at me because I'd send five people a day, and then they'd be like, hey, Mike Talley told me to come in here and get a job. No, we ain't hiring. They turn away probably like 100 people a day. And so when I got out of prison, that would be a year ago, and I was working the next day. And there's people pissed about that because this job, there's people that went there every day for 6 weeks trying to get a job, and I've been gone for a year, and
Yeah.
I come back and I'm working right away. And I've been working every day since because I built a reputation of a good worker, a leader, and someone that they want to have on the crew because I'm
Can
dependent.
you go back to like your beginning? Like, how did you get to that
Yeah,
spot? Because you have a unique story with just getting to just starting out in the unions and all that stuff.
yeah. When I think I was doing a bit, I was doing 4 months in work release, and I just had my son, and it's kind of one of those rebels. I got to do something different with my life. I got to stop hustling,
It's a different kind
right?
of
So I
energy,
was
right?
doing,
When you have kids, it like it
yeah,
changes
yeah, because it's more, it's more responsibility.
1,000%.
Like I said, I've had a shitty childhood, and I feel these kids didn't ask to be brought into this world, so it's our responsibility to give them a better life than we had. That was easy for me because my life
Yeah.
sucked. And so all I had to do was just be there for them. And that was it. So when I'm in jail and my wife's taking care of the kid by herself, it sucked. I was like, I got to stop doing this. Because it wasn't my first time in jail. I've been to jail a few different times. Blessed enough to not ever go to prison up until recently. But at that time, I was in work release, and my stepdad was working HR at a Kenwood truck factory, and me and my cousin worked there. So my cousin would go there, and we work. I'm gonna quit hustling, but I'm not gonna quit trying to find short. But we had 82 hours a week for 2 weeks. When we got our check, this company's out of business, so I'm not going to get in trouble for this. We're out of business. When we got our check, we were ready. We were like, yeah, we're going to have a fat check. And we opened the check, and I remember it specifically. We opened the check, and we were like, and we looked at each other like, how the fuck are we going to, it was $372 after they took taxes. I was like,
for
how are we going to raise kids like this? 2 weeks of 80 hours.
So 160 hours.
It was like
oh my.
Yeah, 160. Yeah, it was stupid low. We've been hustling. We're used to making $1,000 a day, sometimes $500 a day, and now we got it. I was like, I could go make this in one jug. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
How are we gonna do this? And my cousin's uncle, or my uncle, aunt's husband, was my dad's best friend in high school. He was a superintendent in the union, and the starting wage back then for a journeyman was first period apprentice was $23 an hour. And so he explained to us how the system worked. You start as a first period apprentice, and then you go, it's a 4-year program. There's 8 periods, and then straight time for 8 hours, time and a half after that, time and a half all day Saturday, double time on Sunday. So we start doing the math of 82 hours because that's what we figured we were going to do every single week. And we're like, yeah, we'll do that. So we skipped work. He picked me up from jail. We skipped work that day, went and signed up for the apprenticeship, went to technical college. As soon as we signed up, we got lucky because there was a 2-year wait list right behind us, but we got in right away. And, so we got in on that. And then we did you got to do a physical test. And however you test on that is what you placed on the dispatch, and you get sent out to work. We both went to our job. And at 8 hours, they told us to roll up. We're like, no, we're going to work overtime. We're going to work 12 today. And they're like, that's not how that works. We work 8 hours here. You're lucky if you get overtime. So that's how it worked out. But in the apprenticeship, this is where my hustle came in, where hustling's a 24/7 job, right? So you're constantly moving and moving. They're explaining to us in the apprenticeship that there's blocks, right? So there's 8 periods. If you get 7 blocks, then you move up a period. So you get a raise. So it's in class and it perked up, right? People average 3-4 blocks a class. You go to school once every 3 months for a week. And you do these projects in class, like you build things or do siding or framing or whatever. Each project is a block. So we said, hey, we're doing 7 blocks a week. We made a goal. We made a commitment.
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting a raise every time we come. And so the first week we did 4 years worth of homework. We did all the homework. He did this half of the homework. I did this half of the homework. So before we started, we figured out what blocks we were going to do. I was like, you do these 3, I'll do these 3, and we'll do this one together. So he would do his project. I would do my project. He'd get his graded. I'd get mine graded. We'd take his apart, move it, get it graded for me. Take mine apart, move it, get it graded for him. So we got 2 blocks on the first day. And we did that the whole season. We finished the program in 2 years. It was a 4-year program. We finished in 2 years. So by applying myself, and I'd never done construction a day in my life, ever. Like never even hung a picture, and I just finished a program that's taking guys. There's guys that it took 6 or 7 years to do it just because that was I didn't want to go there. I just wanted to get the money and get out. And so with that work ethic and learning how to just get it done and applying that to the field through the years, I just built a reputation as a good hand. 20 years later, now I'm running work. So when I got laid off, it's not a big deal to me because I know I can find another job. And actually the job I was at, they wouldn't have laid me off except there's a company that is growing and up and coming. And the vice president of that company had a good relationship with the project superintendent. And he actually gave me to them to move up in the company. And so I'm doing training.
So that's
hire me as a foreman and train me to be a superintendent.
Okay. So that's why you were so nonchalant about it. You kind of already knew you had the job already kind of ready for you.
Well, no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't because the jobs that they had ready for me were JBLM, which is on a military base, and at the airport, which I can't get on, right? Because my best friend, man, I was very upfront. I was worried, right? Because I had to tell him about that and tell him I just got out of prison and I can't get on the base and I can't do this, airport job. He was like, hey, we got enough work.
Nice.
We can definitely, because this guy had talked me up so much I came in, I only worked for them for probably 6 months. And when I came on the job, all I did was go around and fix other people's stuff and help them get I put out fires. I did all the shit work. That's what I did. So I saved the company almost. Got everybody caught up to a comfortable spot where they could start getting rid of people, which sounds bad, but in a business aspect, it's about money, right? So if you got more guys than you need and they keep doing work, you're not making any money. So ultimately, you always have to get rid of the workforce. And I got them to a point where they could comfortably do that. And, you know, they had 6 crews and they needed to get rid of one. And I was the only one qualified enough to go to this other company and help them grow.
It, you know, that predicament because of your background, can that ever be cleared, or are you just kind of stuck with that on your background and you can't work jobs on JBLM or military bases or airports?
Yeah, I'll never.
Okay.
Never. I'll never be able to get on.
Okay.
I actually it's a funny story. I got kicked off of Boeing. I worked at Boeing for like a half hour. I got hired on Boeing with my uncle's friend. And I went in and I gave him all my information. And then he took me to the cafeteria, showed me the job. We're eating lunch. And his phone rang. He's like, yeah, all right. He's like, hey, finish your food. I got walked you off the job tonight.
Dang, that fast.
Yeah. That half hour, I'm telling you, so I can't work at Boeing, I can't work at Microsoft, I can't work at JBL, and I can work around the airport, but there's certain parts that you have to have security clearance. And
what's interesting too is because you also brought up you are kind of working on a military project, right? Or will be?
Yeah, it's a military burial ground. We're doing an expansion of the Mount Tonga Cemetery, which is an honor and a blessing to even be considered for, because my grandpa's buried there. My uncle is going to be buried there. Everything in there is like perfect. Like the granite, the ceremony centers, like it's high quality. I'm used to doing rough construction. Like on bridges, they have this saying, nobody's going to see it driving by at 60. So the tolerance of perfectness is not as bad. On buildings, it's a little bit tighter, but still the stuff we do is usually covered up by tile or sheetrock. You know, nobody really sees it. So the stuff we're going to be doing out here has a small margin of error, which I think qualified for, because I've flipped houses and had to do, you know, granite counters and trim and stuff that's more minute and that people are going to see and be proud of. So it really is a privilege to be considered for that. And because of my history, my background, my reputation, they hired me specifically for that.
No, that's dope. And then real quick, you also mentioned that you had a business and you know, obviously some things had happened. Can you just kind of like briefly go over to that and then like kind of go over like what you did and then what happened to it?
Yeah, so right around COVID, I got sick of the union. You get tired of the politics. Every time you go to a job, you have to prove yourself because you're a new person, right? I just got tired of doing that. One of my general foremans had pissed me off and called me out in front of my workers and, you know, basically said, go clean the condo. I'm like, you know what? My name's Mike. You ain't talking to me like that. I'm Mike Talley. I quit right there. And I had a job lined up before I left the job. I just decided I didn't want to do it. So Dustin Conley owns Conley Roofing.
Shout out to Dustin.
And he asked me if I wanted, shout out to Dustin and Conley Roofing. And he asked me if I wanted to start a gutter company before this happened. And I was like, gutters? I don't know. I don't know if I really want to do that. But then this situation happened. I was like, fuck it, why not? So I started this gutter company, MT Gutters. That's my logo
There
right
you go.
there. No longer exists. I just like the logo. But I started this company, and like I was saying, I was able to apply the hustle, right, and knowledge of construction, and put that together. And I was extremely successful because instead of selling pounds of weed, now I'm selling pounds of aluminum by the foot on these gutters and interacting with people and explaining to them, not really selling them on what they want, but offering them a service, because gutters are pretty necessary in Washington. If you don't have a good gutter system, then the water's going to come off the roof. It's going to erode your foundation. Your house is going to settle and shit starts cracking. You got to have good water navigation for property preservation.
Whoa.
And when I explained that to people, it was really easy to get people to want to work with me because I was so genuine. I wasn't trying to convince them to buy something they didn't need. I offered them what they needed, and then I offered them a little bit more if they wanted more, and they could always get that later, but just giving them a genuine service adding value to the product without putting a dollar sign on it. Made us very successful. We made 500,000 the first year. I had 20 employees, 5 to 6 jobs a day, just going, going, going. And the thing I liked about that, like I help people, I was able to help a lot of my friends that were in tough situations with employment. I had friends that just got out of prison that were looking to change their life. And instead of going back to the streets, I was able to give them a job. And that lasted about 2 years. And then some unfortunate circumstances happened in my life. And then I had to go away for a while. Yeah,
Gotcha. Gotcha. And you don't ever want to start a business again? Obviously not gutters, because I can sense like you have contempt for gutters, but like maybe another type of business in construction or anything.
I'll never say never, because every time I say never, it happens. And, the universe does what the universe wants you to do. But right now I'm content where I'm at. That experience and then going to prison humbled me to what I have. Before I went away, honestly, with everything I'd gone through in my life, I started to develop a God complex because everything I touched was successful. Right? I could do no wrong. I couldn't fail. I went through so much failure that I turned everything into success, and I just wanted to take over the world. I was going to go make $1 million. I was going to open up companies all over the country. I started coming up with, I was going to open a bar called MT Bottles and all these MT spins, and just way too much overwhelmed me. And then it all crumbled down and I lost everything. And then I didn't make any money for a year. When I got out, I had to rebuild everything. And so now I'm appreciative to just have a paycheck. I didn't go to the doctor or the dentist for like 2 years. So I didn't have medical benefits and I couldn't afford it to run a company, even though we were making a lot of money. Most of that money went to paying the employees and then putting money back into the company. It didn't really go in my pocket, right? Now I learned how to run a business, but now I can run a business for someone else with less liability, more reward. Being made me appreciate being back in the union and providing for my kids. I'm stable, I'm comfortable, I'm peaceful, I'm happy. I have more time to help people instead of working 12 hours a day running the company. I work 8 to 10 hours a day and that's it. I can leave my work at work, come home, be happy. And my life, with everything I've gone through, I'm extremely blessed, thankful, and humble of where I'm at and what I have.
That's dope. Because it's like I said, like just all the things and events and the moving around and the drama and just getting locked.
Like you said, I shouldn't be here.
You kind of really should,
But I'm here for a reason.
I believe that too.
I'm here for a reason.
And I believe that you're supposed to be on this podcast, so I mean, like watching any of the past podcasts, because you said like, some of them kind of hit you. Could you pick like one, maybe like any like random moment from any of the episodes that you've maybe watched that kind of stand out to you, where you're just like, damn, that hit me? Because I like hearing those types of stories too. So
the specific one that hit me is April surviving cancer, because I recently just found out that my uncle has colon cancer. He was like my second dad. And I'm a big crier. Like in my experiences in life, I've grown up trying to be tough, trying to be Mike Talley, but I cry a lot. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because you got to let guys know it's okay to cry. You got to let it out. And when you get it, you'll feel better. Her experience gives me hope that my uncle can beat it and survive. So shout out to April. I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you. And you did the thing. And
no, that was powerful. I was so thankful that that she shared that.
Yeah.
And then is there anything that you would want to say to anybody from Spanaway, like, any shout outs that you might have, that maybe if you hadn't mentioned them yet?
We'll be here.
If you haven't mentioned them yet,
3 more hours if I got to shout out everybody.
You don't have to shout out everybody. How about like, the
I know,
main...
I'm just saying, like, I don't want to leave anybody out.
I mean,
I'm saying, I have so much love for the people from Spanaway, that everybody that I came across. You guys changed my life. You saved my life. You put me in a place in my life to start moving forward and developing my personality. And you caught me at a time where I needed all of you to get me to start thinking about what I wanted to do in life, where I wanted to be in life. Like, it was a place where I needed love. Like, from not experiencing love, I experienced love, and I love everybody from Spanaway wholeheartedly with everything. That's the only reason I'm doing this, is to let you guys know how much I appreciate and love you guys letting me be a part of your lives and being a small chapter in your story, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't.
Damn, man, that's dope. Damn, that was that hits. So like your life is like I said, it's been crazy, and like just even looking at your notes, it's like, moved around almost every year growing up as a kid, had no real consistency, almost homeless, got shot, you know, self-defended yourself, had kids, got arrested, started your own business, all these crazy things. And, if you could go back and talk to yourself in 1998, like what kind of conversation would you have with yourself? Like after, yeah, just what would you say to that 18-year-old you?
That's a deep conversation. So the conversation I would have with myself is have confidence in yourself. Live up to your own expectations and know that you're going to change people's lives. You're going to touch people in certain ways, that you're going to affect them to want to do better things in life. You're going to do great things. You're going to be successful in everything that you want to do and you put your heart into. It doesn't matter what you've gone through. There's always tomorrow. You're going to hit the ground, but you're going to bounce back up as long as you keep going. Keep your head up, keep moving forward, love yourself as much as you love everybody else, and let people love you and show them love back.
Let's go. That's what's up, man. Dan, thank you for you coming on the podcast today. Real quick, another random question before, I know that I'm kind of like rabbit trailing it right now. But you know how like you're a snowboarder. What's your favorite mountain to go snowboarding on in the area?
Oh, Baker.
Oh, why is that?
It's far away, yeah, because I like, it's big, right? I hate riding on the lift.
Gotcha.
So my son works at Snow Palmy Pass. I call that Cupcake
Yeah.
Mountain. Like, the runs are just
It's
so
just
short.
so close.
It's so short.
It's just so close though.
Yeah,
so.
it's so short. Crystal's got some long runs. I just don't like the layout of it, but it's close. But it's too expensive. Everything's so expensive now. Since that company took it over, I used to get lift tickets for like $40 or like $170. Stupid. But Baker, like, opening day, I always try to go up to Baker at least once a year. I've gone to Big Bear down in California. Yep. That was a blast.
Whistler? Do you ever go to Whistler?
I wish I could. No, and I never will be able to.
Yeah, you can't go. Canada. Yeah. Oh, damn. Never mind.
I can go, but the pass is like $300.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That's
you're right.
But Bachelor down in, is it Bachelor? No, Mount Hood down in Oregon. As soon as I can leave Pierce County, I want to go down there. My son goes down there at the end of his season every year, and he just lives in the tent down there and rides. He gets his. I'm saying that's how hardcore he. I was not even that hardcore. He gets a season pass because it's late season for $170, and he just goes down there and lives in a tent and rides every day. So I want to go down because they're open like 8 months out of the year, I think.
Wow.
So they have good spring riding. I want to go to Colorado and ride.
Vail.
I would go to Japan, like just travel.
There's like powder
other areas
in Japan.
Yeah. I've been snowboarding for like 30 years, so I'm used to all these mountains around here. So shout out anybody that wants to ride, hit me up and plan a trip. I don't go a lot because I got to work and I'm old, so it's hard to recover. I'm not dropping any cliffs with you. I don't hit rails or big jumps like I used to. But if you just want to go lean back and cruise and just have a good time, I'm down to go.
I'm down with that. I'm down to go. I'm down to go. I'm down to go.
I'm not going to teach anybody how to ride. I don't teach anymore. That's too frustrating.
I know. I'm good enough to ride. Maybe not as fast as everybody, but I can get down by myself.
But I don't even go fast anymore. Like, I just like to take my time, hit a few kickers on the sides. But snowboarding. Like, I was snowboarding more than I was.
April was talking
about. So you get to the top of the mountain. It's a feeling of serenity.
Yeah, April was talking about
just let the world nothing matter.
No, April was talking about getting like like a reunion together. Like, man, it's a good time to just. I know we're just kind of talking right now, but that would be fun. Yeah. Obviously we're going into summer now, so that season's kind of ending. But next season,
next
exactly. So that might be something people might want to do. So, But man, thanks again for coming on the podcast. This was beautiful. Like, man, this is
Appreciate
exactly kind of what I wanted to get from you. Like, I just feel like, man, you were kind of going through a lot. And the last one, the power kept going out, and like the power was out. At least it was kind of consistent in this episode, even though I thought it was going to come
it.
back on during it, but we were able to record through. And yeah, just thank you guys for watching this, and we'll see you guys all in the next one.
Yeah.
Dope.